When I turned 13 on January 25th, 2021, I gained access to social media platforms such as Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook. Now, in order to create an account for these platforms, all I had to do was enter 3 key things: a username, a password, and a birth date. It was very easy. Now, I knew that social media would be a great place to connect with family and friends and really anybody. But as soon as I started using social media, I realized what a dangerous place it could be. I saw instances of cyberbullying, and I saw hate comments on several posts. Now, this new experience in my life raised a question in my mind. Why should young teens such as myself and my friends be exposed to such a dangerous environment without any sort of preparation whatsoever? Now, I've owned social media for over 2 years now, and I've witnessed firsthand the dangers that social media poses to young teens. You finally fixed your hair this morning. That is a comment that was written on a post on Instagram for a teenager. Now, this comment might not seem like a big deal to you, but to a teenager that has insecurities, a comment like this can ruin their self-esteem. Now, although social media is used widely and legally among adolescents, access to social media needs to be heavily regulated due to the physical and emotional dangers of social media, and because existing protections are not adequate enough to fit young users of social media. Now, there's 2 reasons that social media should be heavily regulated. This is emotional harm and physical harm. Emotional harm can affect somebody's mental health. Cyberbullying is a great example of this. Cyberbullying is basically when you use an electronic device such as your phone or laptop to bully somebody. It's very easy because you can do it behind the safety of a screen. You don't have to worry about your victim's reaction. You're not going to see their face when you bully them online. Now, according to Collins, in a book called The Social Media Revolution, published in 2021, 37% of people between the ages of 12 and 17 have been the victim of a cyberbullying attack. And according to Abby Joud, in a Canadian Medical Association journal published in 2020, cyberbullying can result in low self-esteem, stress, anxiety, and depression. Another mental harm that social media can cause is FOMO, otherwise known as the fear of missing out. Now, according to Abby Joud, when teenagers are away from social media for too long, they can begin to feel like they're missing out on something. And this doesn't just relate to teenagers, this relates to everybody. FOMO can cause a bad addiction to social media, stress, anxiety, and depression. Now, when you're affected mentally, it can affect your physical health. An example of this would be lack of sleep. Abby Joud states that social media usage among teenagers is related to lack of sleep. And lack of sleep can cause stress, anxiety, and decreased quality of life, just to name a few. Secondly, social media can cause teens to commit acts of self-harm. According to Abby Joud, social media makes self-harm seem way more normal than it actually is in reality. And most devastatingly, social media can cause teens to commit acts of suicide. According to Memon et al. In an Indian Psychiatry journal published in 2018, suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death among youth. And according to the CDC, just recently published, these numbers of suicide among youth continue to rise, especially since the pandemic. Now, there's hope. Let me explain. North Carolina was the first state in the U.S. to implement a 3-stage graduated driver's license system. Now, to you, this system may seem, it relates to when teenagers go through driver's education, when they go through a time behind the wheel with an instructor, when they get their permit, their after nines. That's what this system was. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, in this graph, this blue line on the graph represents young teenagers and the percentage that makes up deaths and fatalities in car crashes. In 2011, young drivers made up 42% of fatalities in car crashes. In 2020, this number had lowered to 37%. It dropped 5 points. Now, this may not seem like a big decrease, but we're talking about thousands of teenagers, and every life counts. Also, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, these programs have been shown to reduce deaths with car crashes of young teenagers by 50%. Now, in order to own a driver's license, you have to get the proper certification and training. In order to own a social media account, all you have to do is enter a username, a password, and a birth date. Now, just like driver's ed has been shown to reduce the amounts of deaths regarding driving, a social media education plan will lower the amounts of suicide and depression regarding young teenagers. A social media education plan would teach teens how to safely use social media, how to recognize the dangers of social media, how to react in the event of an online threat, and how to react in the event of a problem. How can you help? The biggest thing to do is to raise awareness on this topic. Our society needs to know the impacts that social media can bring to teens' mental health. You can also go to kidshealth.org to learn how you can teach teens and students how to face the dangers of social media. Social media and driving are both here to stay, and both of them have very positive benefits as long as they're used responsibly. The stats don't lie. They tell a disturbing tale of increasing rates of depression and suicide from teenagers using social media. Now, this isn't the first time that our country and our youth has faced a problem like this. When our country faced a problem with death rates rising from driving, we implemented many sophisticated systems to lower the deaths of teenagers. And these systems have been proven to work. Our country needs to do the same thing now with social media. We need to implement a social media training plan. You've heard the slogan, click it or ticket, in regards to driving and seatbelts. If we can teach our teens the right kind of clicking for driving on the real highway, then we can teach them the right kind of clicking for driving on the information highway. Please, give us teens the keys to success for driving on the information highway, and we will thank you for it. Thank you.